It's the Brad and John Show.
Brad and John Show for Wednesday, February 26th. This is the C block, which means we start at around 7:45. We're running real late this morning. We'll start at 7:40. It's 7:46. We're 6 minutes behind. Okay, I talked about this in the last break. Cleetus McFarland. You always make fun of this guy, okay? Let me tell you who Cleetus McFarland is. Cleetus McFarland is a guy who got into cars. It was a car freak all his life. It was actually, he's originally from someplace in Minnesota. He moved down to Sarasota, Florida, and was, I think, whatever, in one of the universities. He was in law school. And he was working part-time as a videographer for this company called 1320 Video. Long story made short, he did this goofy video once where his real name is Garrett Mitchell, and he called himself Cleetus McFarland, as some southern guy, and he's at a drag strip, and he did this video, and overnight he became this internet success, okay? What's interesting about it is he now has, I think, 4 or 5 million subscribers on YouTube. Guess how many subscribers NASCAR has on YouTube?
Far fewer, and I bet you... Because of this, I don't mean to step on your story, but as you've mentioned before, Brad, NASCAR saw how many followers he had, how many fewer they have, and they decided to do the smart thing, right?
Well, they have embraced Cleetus McFarland, and he raced in the ARCA race. For those of you who don't know what ARCA is, in the world of NASCAR, ARCA is third from the top. So you have it used to be the Winston Cup. They keep changing it. This Nextel, I don't even know what it is anymore. The top level of NASCAR is the big races at Daytona. Then they have a level below that, and then 2 levels down is ARCA. And ARCA is usually the guys who come from the dirt tracks and things like that. So the interesting thing was that he raced in the ARCA race, in the Daytona race, which essentially was 2 races before the Daytona 500. And they had the most viewership they've ever had by like times 3 because Cleetus hold on a minute. John, I'm allergic to you. I don't cough all morning. I gotta get in the air and I cough. I cough with you. Okay. They had like times 4 or 5 the number of people watching that ARCA race. Now, normally people don't watch ARCA races. It would sort of be like people watch the Cardinals and would be like somebody, oh, I'm going to watch the Springfield Redbirds. You know, nobody does that. You know, it's sort of like here in St. Louis. You got the St. Louis Cardinals. You got used to have the River City Rascals. Now it's the O'Fallon Hooters, whatever they're called. Shelley gets mad at me every time I say that. It's the Hoots. No, it's the Hooters. By the way, did you see they Hooters filed for bankruptcy? Did you see that the other day?
No, I didn't see that. No.
I don't know if that's true or not. I just saw...
that's deflating, isn't it?
In more ways than one.
That really takes the water out of my cup.
Anyway, Kenny Wallace addressed this and said how what's happened is that you have this grassroots, which is more than a grassroots operation, with the Cleetus McFarlands of the world who are essentially putting fun back in racing. Now, it's funny this should happen because Friday morning, my son, who lives down in Pensacola, sends me a picture of a Nissan Altima with a race number on the door. First off, he sends me a picture of the entrance to the Freedom Factory, which is the racetrack that Cleetus McFarland bought down in Bradenton, Florida. He has his own, I think it's 3/8 mile, high bank. It's not a dirt track; it's a paved track. It's an asphalt concrete track. Okay, and I'm going, "Are you down in Bradenton?" And he texts me back, "Yes, I'm here for the Altima 600." And I said to him, "What is the Altima 600?" Okay, you ready for this, John?
I'm ready.
Cleetus McFarland put on a race where if you had a Nissan Altima, you could race, and the only cars allowed on the track were Nissan Altimas. They had 76 guys show up for this race, okay? And my son was there, and he was on the pit crew for this guy, this friend of his. Matter of fact, a friend of his, 2 guys that he works with, one guy went as an independent. The other guy actually got sponsorship from the company that my son works for, and the manager gave him like $100 for new tires or something like that. And the deal was they were driving stock Altimas. And I don't even know if they make Nissan Altima anymore, okay? So my son, who has been to many races, he, the next morning, I text him, I go, how was that last night? And his response was, Here, I'm still going to find it real quick. My son sometimes can be a person of few words. Imagine that. He's my son. Let me see if I can find it. He said, it was a lot of fun. Craziest thing I've ever seen in motorsports, where you had 76 Altimas race. Now, the interesting part of the race, there's all sorts of these crazy things about the race. If your car broke down on the racetrack, there were no yellow flags. It was either green or red. If there were like a major accident or something like that, the red flag came out and everybody stopped. But if your car broke down on the racetrack or you had an accident and your car was essentially, not drivable anymore, you were supposed to get out of it and leave it on the racetrack. So you had these guys flying around this racetrack with cars that are spun out, smashed into the side, just sitting there, and they're dodging these cars. And I watched part of it on YouTube. It was crazy. And
nobody died or was injured.
Nobody died. Nobody was injured.
Okay, that's good. Let's start there. Yeah. Hey, we'll be like AAA. Is everyone safe?
Right. And the crazy thing was, I even said to my son, I said, because normally when you have these kind of races, they do what they call a tech line, where you have to go through the tech line and they have to make sure that you got a fire extinguisher. And normally, one of the required things, you have to put on a roll cage. No roll cages. He says the only thing you had to wear was a helmet. No fire suit, nothing. A helmet and seat belts. They make sure the seat belts work. They're using stock seats, stock seat belts, and a helmet. So, and the crazy thing is, nobody died, and it was incredibly popular. So people are going like, no, hold on a minute now. Do you mean there's no guy with like the race suit, which is made out of Nomex, which has 42 sponsors all over it, and there's no car that has 14 different sponsors and McDonald's fry on the hood and stuff like that? No, it was a bunch of guys, and my son lives in Pensacola, even though it's in Florida. I said, how far a drive is it? He says 6 hours. So him and his buddies drove 6 hours from Pensacola down to Bradenton, Florida, and they raced these two cars. And boy, he sent me pictures of the two cars. They're all smashed up. And they look like really nice cars. And my son says the one guy's car was his daily driver. He literally took his car down there. I mean, it wasn't his main car. He had another car. And he destroyed the car. So, and it's interesting about this. Kenny Wallace talks about this, that what's happened is the corporate guys have taken the fun out of racing, and this and Cleetus McFarland single-handedly is putting the fun back in racing. Like, for example, one of the things he does, they have a drag strip that's right next door. He's actually a part owner of the drag strip right now. They have a Christmas tree drag race where all cars are required to have a Christmas tree attached to the car somehow. So some of them actually have lights on them the whole bit. They drag race with Christmas trees on the dragsters. Okay. Once again, one of the most popular races. Now, would NHRA do something like that? No, of course not, because of the fact, oh my God, we're not going to put Christmas trees on a car. That'd be terrible. Get what I'm saying with this whole crazy thing?
Yeah, I get exactly what you're saying. And I mean, but it hasn't for a long time. It reminds me of Happy Gilmore, when at the whole premise of the movie is that having wacky people involved, or at least one wacky guy, rejuvenates interest in a very boring sport that has boring rules and squelches any kind of fun. Like, that was the theme of Happy Gilmore. So hasn't every sport tried to look and say, hey, what could we do to be less stodgy? And it sounds like bringing Cleetus McFarland in and at least reaching out to him has brought in a whole new audience.
Well, look at the Savannah Bananas.
Yeah, you talked about this several times. That's a great example. Maybe mention what they do again, Brad, because they are coming to St. Louis.
The Savannah Bananas are this baseball team, and essentially it was a minor league team in Savannah, Georgia. And the guy who owns it was sort of lamenting the fact that, minor league baseball is not doing very well. So he essentially reinvented, and it's just goofy stuff. They've formed their own league. It's sort of like akin to the Globetrotters. They have a team, but the interesting thing is, he says, he brings this up. What is it, the Washington Nationals, or what's the team that the Globetrotters play all the time? You know what I'm talking about?
The Washington Generals, who you had a poster of in your bedroom.
Right, the Washington Generals, because they always lost. And he says that even though we own both teams, I think like 4 or 5 teams now, that the Savannah Bananas don't always win. And the interesting thing was, just yesterday I saw an ad or a video that he's talking about. And if you've seen this guy, he does a lot of speaking to business groups now, and he dresses in a yellow tuxedo. He has yellow pants, yellow yellow tux jacket, yellow hat that he wears like a dress hat, yellow vest and the whole bit. And he talks about the fact that how they are changing the rules or essentially they're throwing away the rules of baseball. And one of the things he talked about in this video I saw just yesterday, they've taken advertising out of the stadium. There's no more advertising. And he says they've lost a couple $100,000 a year by doing this because he said people don't come to the ballparks to be advertised to be pitched to. They come to the ballparks to watch a game. Think about that for a minute, John.
Well, what do you think, Brad? Now, now that seems like that argument would be nails on a chalkboard to you.
No, but see, his point being is that what's gotten, and I dealt with all the minor league teams, for years. We used to broadcast you name a team, we did them. The Rascals, we did them for years. The Swarm, which was the basketball team, the Ambush, the Revengers, the Renegade. We did all of them, and they all struggled because what they were trying to do was they were trying to act big league. You know what I mean? And the problem with it was like they were trying to be the Cardinals, but they weren't the Cardinals. They were trying to be the Rams, but they weren't the Rams. So what this guy is essentially saying is the Savannah Bananas are trying to be no one. They're unique, and their bottom line is for people to show up at the games and enjoy themselves and have fun and be entertained. Where he says that what's happened is with the major sports, and once again, the example of Cleetus McFarland, do you think NASCAR would ever do an Altima 600 where you have guys show up with their Altimas and they race? And not only that, and once again, if the cars, get smashed on the track, the red flag comes out and the safety crew goes out. No, the guy hops out of his car and he hopefully doesn't get hit by cars driving by him, and he leaves his car out on the track. And once again, people are going like, wow, this is fun. Because what happens is, and this is the same thing, and I'll make the full circle thing, somebody wants to control other people. The White House Press Association wants to control the reporters. The Biden administration wants to control the reporters. Somebody is trying to put their finger on the scale and essentially say, well, this is what people want. And some goofy guy like Cleetus McFarland, or this guy that runs Savannah Bananas, comes along and he goes, you know what? I don't think that's what people really want. I think what people really want is fun and enjoyment, and they don't care about what is the thing that they talked about this year for the Major League Baseball. They talk about the golden at bat. You know what I'm talking about? The deal
No,
where
I haven't heard that.
Yeah,
No.
they talked about this thing where they're trying to they thought about this rule that at any point in time you could have the golden at bat, that you could have.
Yes, you could pull up. Sorry to interrupt, but you could pull up any hitter at any time as a pinch hitter.
Right, even if he just batted. In other words, he could bat twice in a row, and if he hit a home run once, you could put him back out in the field. He's our golden batter. Well, he just batted. Well, he's our golden batter. And people go,
now, as it relates to Cleetus McFarland and the Savannah Bananas guy, what is the D word you would use to describe them, Brad? One of your favorite words.
D word. Let me think about this for a minute.
It rhymes with eruptor.
D word.
Disruptor, Brad.
Disruptor? Oh, I did. I've never said that before in my life. Have I ever, John?
No, yeah. You haven't given the disruptor speech when you're comparing yourself to Elon Musk.
I'm never comparing myself to Elon Musk, but
well, it's a fair thing because you're both disruptors.
Okay, John. Say goodbye.
I'll see you guys tomorrow.